हरे कृष्णा अनुराधा माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय। प्रीतिदास जी from Charlotte. हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj's. Thank you so much for your association, Mataji. Hari Bol.
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna, Anuradha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Vinita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Wait. Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj's. Thank you so much for your wonderful association, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण अनुराधा माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय दिस इज श्यामा गौरी देवदास फ्रॉम शार्लेट
Hare Krishna, Shama Gauri Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your wonderful association, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna, is there anybody else would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna. This is Devdasi from California. I'm very happy to see you on the panel.
Hare Krishna, Priti Vilasini Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj's. Thank you so much for your association, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances once again. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. This is Nitya Narasimha here, Mataji, from Mathura Resh, Muscat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your wonderful distant association, but it's so great, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Continue doing so. And Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी नंदवत प्रणाम मालगढ़ से श्रील प्रभुपाद देवी from Virginia. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your wonderful and sweet association. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Bhagavata.
Hare Krishna, dear Bhagavata, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your sweet, sweet association and continue doing so. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Shashidhar joining from San Antonio. Please accept my humble blessings of Lord Srila Prabhupada and assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna. Is there anybody else who would like to introduce? Otherwise, we will start with the class today. Hare Krishna, welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa group. Today, we are very fortunate to have I will read the verse, Mataji. I mean the quote. We are very fortunate to have His Grace Ramgiridhari Prabhuji with us to enlighten us on the topics of Chaitanya Bhagavat. And Prabhuji, please take over the call. I will just quickly read this quote of the day and then mic is yours. July 4th, so far as learning the film industry, that is out of the question. Krishna industry is good engagement for us. Letter to Nayana Bhiram, July 4th, 1971. Thank you so much, Vinita Mataji, for sharing that. Prabhuji, please take over. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my obeisances.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, and it's a great privilege to be in the Association of Devotees to discuss Chaitanya Bhagavata. So we'll offer some prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. We're reading from Caitanya Bhagavata, Adi Khanda, chapter 9, text number 111 and 112. Shri Vrindavanadi Yata Dvadasavanam Eke Eke Prabhu Sabha Karena Brahmanam. The Lord visited each of the 12 forests, beginning with Vrindavana. Gokule Nandera Kara Vasati Dekiyam Vistara Rodana Prabhu Karila Vasiyam. When he saw the house and courtyard of Nanda Maharaj at Gokula, he sat down and cried profusely. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. Namaham Vishnu Padayam Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Nityananda Prabhu is traveling to all the holy places. 20 years, it is explained that Nityananda Prabhu, before he began the Sankirtan mission with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he visited holy places for 20 years. So in our Panchanga Bhakti, one of the angas of that is Dhamvas. It is very interesting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being Krishna himself, Nityananda Prabhu, who is Balaram himself, they too personally exhibited this Panchanga Bhakti in their own way, specifically by staying in the holy Dham. So we will try to slightly dissect this topic in little more details for us to understand the subject matter little deeply. There are 5 types of Dham. One is called Goloka Vrindavan Dham, which is the eternal abode of the Supreme Lord. Second is called Bhaumya Vrindavan Dham, which is the place when Krishna was personally present when he came. At that time, when Krishna was in this planet in person, called Bhauma Vrindavana Dham. Third is called Trishyamana Dham, the Dham that we see when we go to the holy place. We see what we see, directly proportionate to our love and devotion. And fourth is a type of dham where pure devotee resides. It is explained that wherever pure devotees live, that area gets purified, the effect of becoming a dham. And fifth is the heart of a pure devotee. The devotee's heart is also considered dham because the Supreme Lord is choosing that place as his resting place, which means that is also one of the house of the Lord. So these 5 types of dham, of these 5, the first and second is at the moment inaccessible to us. What is left with us is 3, 4, and 5. But there are several explanations that are given that these dham, how do we associate with them? And what is that this dham offers in return for our devotion? And why do sadhus, they choose dham for their projects? If you see the history, nobody chose a city or a village or some, beach side resort for their spiritual activities. The sages of Naimisharanya, or the people who assembled for performing sacrifice for the humanity at large, they chose Naimisharanya. Rupa Sanatana and the 6 Goswamis, they chose Vrindavana Dham for their missionary activities. All the saints, they chose Vrindavana Dham. When Krishna was in this planet, when Mahabharat war was going on, when Balaram did not want to party with either of the side, he visited holy places. According to the description of the 5 types of dham, wherever the Lord goes, that place becomes a dham, and the Lord also goes to dham. So Nityananda Prabhu chose to travel to several holy places for 20 years before he actually began the Sankirtan mission. So we are going to turn this context slightly in detail. So my first reflection into this context is about the desire to visit and stay in dham. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu explained about Panchanga Bhakti, he said this Panchanga Bhakti, 5 angas, are very important for someone to nurture his devotional creeper. The Bhakti Lata Beej that a person has received from Guru and by the blessings of Krishna which is sown in the heart, can be nurtured by doing chanting, performing Mangalarati, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, and visiting and staying in Holy Dham. So, why is it that staying in Holy Dham is considered, or visiting Holy Dham is considered very important, very special? By design, we are all polluted in our consciousness. By design, when we take birth in this material world, our senses, mind, and intelligence, they are constantly searching for quenching their desires, and we constantly remain as a self-centered person. But Dham is such a place where the Lord has performed his Leela. The Lord is performing his Leela. The remembrance of the Lord is very much active and present, current. And fourth is, even till now, some of the associates who had opportunity to be with the Lord are still present. Because of these four aspects, a dham, a holy place, is able to absorb, transform, inspire, empower us for our spiritual journey. Even though we may have been a sense gratifier, even though we may have our own desires, the moment we enter Dham, a holy place, naturally our consciousness gets shifted, at least for a period in time when we are in Dham. In general, unless we are extremely notorious and critical. So this holy place has got the power to supersede, cleanse our polluted consciousness and give us an experience of what it means to be a devotee of the Lord. Within the perimeter of a dham, holy dham, we are directly under the control, protection of the Supreme Lord, even though we may not be a superlative, clear, clean devotee. So this dham is actually classified as a spiritual embassy. Within that place, no rules of material world, no emotional, sentimental, and sensual rules of the material world are naturally operating, unless and otherwise we are very rude and proud about our so-called existence, and we carry that mood over there. If somebody is seeking, somebody is desiring, if somebody is visiting Dham even out of curiousness, the Dham offers them, reciprocates with them the love and care that we need. But if somebody visits the Dham with an agenda to find fault, insult, or criticize, then the Dham has a layer which covers itself. That is why it is explained that a holy Dham is non-different from the Supreme Lord. As the Supreme Lord says, Ye yatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartamano vartante manushya partha sarvasaha. Proportionate to our surrender to Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with us. Holy Dham also does the same thing to us. Proportionate to the surrender that we show, Dham actually provides us shelter and eventually inspire and empower us for being the soldier in the Sankirtan mission. So every Acharya or every great personalities, they chose to visit Dham so that they can teach us, they can prepare, and they can eventually set a legacy. So number one is them visiting Dham. Apart from the place of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord leaves behind some more memories for the future generation, so that when they go, they are able to see Krishna consciousness in action, live. We have this small tendency when we are not fully surrendered, a tendency of needing a proof, needing something to believe. Initially, our faith is not very strong. We just don't follow when it is being told. We might need to see them. We might need to feel them. We might need to taste them. So we might need to do all of those things. Till that point in time, our Shraddha is only limited. Suppose, for example, in our journey of Krishna consciousness, if somebody had said, and we had finished of all the pastimes of Guru Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, and no contemporary or no current living examples of Vaishnavas, how many of us would have developed the Shraddha that is needed for us to practice Krishna consciousness? So, when the Vaishnavas go to those places, they set an example that how we need to also go there to purify our consciousness. And they also use that place to charge themselves up. Whilst it is explained that they are the powerhouse, Bhakti is in the heart of a Bhakta, but still, a Bhakta depends on the Bhagavan and the Lord is dependent on the devotee. So the devotee resides there and charge themselves up so that they can go out and bring more and more souls towards the holy place, towards the spiritual embassy. Srila Prabhupada made a personal request that each and every one of us should regularly visit Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri and all the holy places. When he said regularly, he had set a standard for his GBC men at least once annually, where Prabhupada made a mandate that they all gather in Mayapur Dham during Gaura Purnima festival and discuss about the affairs of the preaching mission. So my first reflection is about the reason why acharyas, even avataras, they choose to go to the holy dham. Number two, the second aspect is in Krishna consciousness journey, before we reach, before we get to see, before we get to participate in the direct service of the Lord, there is always a phase of preparation. King Prataparudra, he was witnessing about so many activities that are happening when Mahaprabhu was there. King Prataparudra used to witness from his rooftop how devotees used to come to the temple of Jagannath Puri and how they were conducting themselves, their exchanges with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So what happened was, King Prataparudra developed a curiosity to actually have an audience with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Because before King Prataparudra got formally introduced to Gaudiya Vaishnava process, all he was familiar with was the Smarta tradition. There are generally two types of traditions. One is Smarta tradition. Second is called Goswami tradition. The Smarta tradition is local ritualistic practices which are specific to a region, specific to a community, specific to a family, specific to an ecosystem, may not have ultimate purpose driven out of that. Goswami tradition is completely different perspective about the same context. So when Prataparudra, when he was originally familiar with the local tradition of how the festivals, ceremonies, darshan, activities are done, he only knew that. So when he saw how Goswamis and Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they had a completely different conduct. So he got curious. So he went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and asked him if he can meet in person Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, and I cannot dictate any terms to him. And moreover, based on whatever I know of him, He doesn't like to meet people with involved in worldly affairs. So I can only pass on your request. Rest, it is his freedom and free will. Prataparudra, he regularly heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glories from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. I am telling these points for a specific reason, just to drive home my second reflection. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya regularly heard about the Supreme Lord from a bona fide source. And because he regularly heard about the Supreme Lord from a bona fide source, he developed attachment to serve the Supreme Lord and serve those people whom the Supreme Lord loved. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya helped Prataparudra to perform those services, right from looking after Ramananda Rai to looking after all the Yatrigans, whoever were coming from Bengal and other places for the Rath Yatra. King Prataparudra gave free accommodation, free prasadam, everything like a royal treatment. And he told Ramananda Rai that he need not work for him anymore, but he will get all the privileges of quarters, servants, pension. All the privileges will be still made available. So Prataparudra did extensive service because he saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved all of these people and he chose to serve them. The third aspect is King Prataparudra not once, not twice, at least umpteen number of times, he must have made his request repeatedly to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And every time, the response that he was given were very intense response that Mahaprabhu used to give. Prataparudra, being a Raja, could have reacted differently, but every time when he was rejected, when he was denied audience with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his request kept on increasing and he never became arrogant or rude or agitated. To an extent, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the maximum that I can do is I can meet his son and through that, whatever privilege that he want to avail, let him avail. And finally, on the day of Rath Yatra, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya spoke something in the ears of Prataparudra by which he got audience with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What was that? The last snare, the final attempt of relinquishing everything associated with kingly affairs, dress, followers, privilege, rights, respect. Prataparudra went to Gundicha temple as a normal, simple servant. And he finally got audience with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So my second reflection is the four aspects that he spoke now. Number one, hearing from a bona fide source about the Supreme Lord, serving to those devotees who are dear to the Supreme Lord, developing longing, humble and longing desire, intense longing desire to serve the Supreme Lord, and eventually relinquishing one's false conditioning, upadhi, all the four, which will eventually give us access to the Supreme Lord himself, are made available only in Dham. When I got married, on the day of my marriage, His Grace Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu, they visited our marriage. They came to give us their blessings. Our marriage happened in Rajapur Jagannath Temple. So, in the morning, when the ceremony was going on, when they came, we could just take blessings, couldn't interact with them much. So, on that day evening, myself, my wife, we were on the way to take darshan and blessings of His Holiness Bhakti Vidya Purna Maharaj, because my brother-in-law used to study in the Gurukul there. So we had our personal relationship with him. So we happened to see Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu on the way. See, we once again offered obeisances. So before my marriage, my wife's family and parents, everybody used to live in Mayapur Dham. Even now, my mother-in-law lives there. So they were doing a lot of services for the deities. They make jewelry for Shri Shri Radha Madhav. So Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu know them very well. So when we offered obeisances, as witty as always, Pankajangri Prabhu immediately said to me, looking at my face, because he didn't smile or he didn't give any reaction, he just very sternly said, "You Rakshasa, you are a demon. You are coming all the way from Mumbai to take a Dham Vasi away from Dham." I wouldn't know how to even react to that situation. On one side, it was this kind of somebody reading my mind or scanning me and telling who I was or who I am. But second thing is, we were seeking blessings on that's a day of our wedding, so I wasn't sure how I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to respond to that situation. So I was a little frozen. I wasn't sure. Then he understanding my predicament, so he asked, "What are you doing in Mumbai?" I was still in a state of shock. Somehow my wife came to my rescue. So she told Pankajangri Prabhu, out of all the things that I was doing in Mumbai, she said that my Prabhu does some preaching programs in Mumbai. I would really, want you all to believe me. At that very moment, you should have seen the face of Pankajangri Prabhu. He immediately smiled and said, "That is the only reason somebody can stay in the city. I'm very happy." First of all, he pacified me. Otherwise, I would have really, gone mad or gone completely confused if I did some kind of a grave offense by, taking a Dham Vasi away from Dham. He also communicated a very important message that it is needed to deliver Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message to every town and village. That is the purpose Mahaprabhu appeared. So my second reflection is, for the missionary purpose, if somebody wants to become a missionary, if somebody wants to be part of Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, there is no other way but for us to take inspiration from the holy dham, which is spiritual embassy. Definitely some fortunate souls, some dedicated souls, some matured devotees can choose to live in dham. But if you are still consolidating your thinking, your priorities, your shraddha, one thing is expected of us as practitioners is to give Krishna to everyone. So the second aspect of this current context, the second reflection that I want to say is, Holy Dham offers those four things in full, and with which we will be able to come and help ourselves and help others to develop a love for Krishna. It is not that those four things are not available elsewhere. According to our definition of 5 types of dham, wherever these four things are there, hearing from a bona fide source, serving the Vaishnavas, developing a humble, simple, longing, and enduring, endeavoring mood to serve the Lord, and eventually relinquishing all our false designations. It is available definitely in dham, in total. So whoever has been to the dham, they knew for sure our stay in the dham is completely mesmerizing, that we don't realize our dates, day, time, and natural devotion can be manifested within our heart. The dirty heart can also exhibit some symptoms of natural devotion. So this is my second reflection. The third reflection is about Srila Prabhupada's desire. What was Srila Prabhupada's desire? Srila Prabhupada's desire was to create Gupta Vrindavana everywhere. Right from the time of Krishna's appearance, Vaishnavas have been creating Gupta Vrindavanas time and again. At least I know few of them. We have one in New Vrindavan, West Virginia. If you all have been to Hungary, His Holiness Sivaram Maharaj, he has created a fantastic, beautiful Vrindavan forest. If you come to Govardhan Eco Village, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj and his team of devotees, they have created a wonderful Vrindavan forest. And not only that, Srila Prabhupada has created his preaching mission by creating several Gupta Vrindavans. In the sense, Prabhupada says, every temple of ours, every preaching center of ours, wherever we are chanting the holy name of the Lord, discussing Harikatha, they are non-different from Vrindavana Dham. And Prabhupada goes one step further. He has named the deities in Paris as Lada Paris Ishwara. He has named the deities in London, Shishi Radha London Ishwara. Because of Srila Prabhupada's request, the deities have got a special unique name, which is not there in the Ashtotra, Sahasra Nama. Hundreds and thousands of names of the Lord that we regularly chant. If you know the Puja Paddhati, we chant different names. 12, 18, 52, 56, 108, 1008, like that different names are there. Kesavaya Nama, Narayana Nama, Madhvaya Nama, Govindaya Nama, Vishnuvaya Nama, Madhusudanaya Nama, Trivikramaya Nama, Vamanaya Nama, Shidraya Nama, Shrikeshaya Nama. So we go on chant different names of the Lord. Those are all the names that are associated with the Lord in the spiritual abode. But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of the Acharyas, Kripa, the Lord takes a unique form, avatar, and assumes this unique name. Jaya Radha, London, Ishwara Radha. You sing that. So the aspect that I wanted to say here is the journey of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada wanted to create Gupta Vrindavanas so that those who can't go to Vrindavan, they at least get a feel, experience. In one of the 7 purposes of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada said to preserve the pastime places, because the so-called materialistic people, one of their agenda is to somehow establish how this knowledge about God is a mythology. In fact, somehow by being with them, we started using this word in some context which is really scary. I hear some devotees also use this word mythology. Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya Charitamrita, they are all not mythology. They are history, they are all reality. So when one side of the universe, one side of the world is working very hard to establish, prove how modern science supersedes Vedic era, because the quantum, the analysis is completely based on logical understanding, sensual experience, and whatever that we could quantify. But spiritual understanding is completely opposite. It is beyond logic. It is beyond senses, mind, and intelligence. And it is purely based on qualitativeness. So how do we bridge this gap? The gap can be bridged only when you give the experience, even to those people who challenge. So dhams are very important. When Prabhupada said we have to create Gupta Vrindavan, which means emulate the entire mood of Mayapur, Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri in your own locality. So that all these so-called challenging people can be brought in there, they can be given experience. Those may not have the privilege to come to Vrindavan Dham or Mayapur Dham, but they can be given this experience. When one gets personal experience, nothing can challenge that. Externally, they may still want to maintain a position, but the experience that they would have got can definitely transform them. So the third aspect of Dham is about, we go to the Dham, unless we visit Dham, how will you create Gupta Vrindavan Dham? How do you create Gupta Dham? How do you create certain places? So it is also, this holy places are helping us to win more and more demoniac, unscrupulous men to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was always like that. So my third reflection is that this holy dhams are not just a place of sightseeing. They have a reason to exist. And the third is, the third reflection is about Prabhupada's desire to preserve the existing holy places so they can demonstrate this is where the Lord came, visited, performed his Leela, and the history cannot be challenged or, questioned. There are people who still have this propensity of logically trying to understand, so they are still trying to, get, they are not able to compile some understanding. When they come and see Siddha Bakul tree in Jagannath Puri, we say, look at this tree, that doesn't have a trunk, but still it is, alive. Nobody is able to comprehend. And you cannot establish that concept with the modern materialistic science. You have to go through the spiritual understanding. And last but not least, the fourth reflection, the final reflection is, for us to go closer to Krishna, we need to develop some feeling of separation from Krishna. The feeling of separation is very important because our Siddhanta is Vipralamba. Vipralamba is one of the core strands of Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. Love in separation, feeling of separation from the Supreme Lord. So this holy places helps us to develop love as well as intensify the feeling of separation. If there is no love, there is no feeling of separation. And to get love, you need to know about that person. To know about that person, you see his house, see his people, see his place. So to develop some attachment as well as to develop the feeling of separation, Dham happens to offer us the chance to develop feeling of separation. Because when you see the pastime places, oh, this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu studied, this is where Krishna played, this is where Jagannath performed his pastime, this is where all these things have happened. We developed attachment for them. And we miss them also. Oh my God. Just 530 years before, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and performed his Leela. Oh, just 100 years before, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was here. Oh, just 70 years before, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was here. So we keep, missing them. And we need to miss them. If somebody has never visited a dham, they are missing a significant part of their devotional sentiments. Whatever we are hearing, it really gets intensified only when they visit the pastime places of the Lord. So the fourth reason or the fourth reflection here is for us to develop feeling of separation. So feeling of separation is offered by 4 things. Number 1, when you serve the Lord, when you are not able to personally associate with the Lord or Lord's servants, like feeling of separation from Gurudev, feeling of separation from Gurudev's instructions, feeling of separation from our services. Second, feeling of separation from the pastimes of the Lord. Because when we are in the Dham, we participate in the pastimes, we hear the pastimes, we dive deep into the pastimes. We imagine those pastimes happening around. When you go to Bandi River, oh, this is where Radha and Krishna, they got married. This is where, the Gopas used to come and eat their daily lunch. If you go to Mahavan, oh, this is where Dhruva Maharaj performed meditation. Oh, if you go to, what we just read today. Nityananda Prabhu is going to Gokula and crying. And he saw the house of Nanda Maharaj. He is Balaram himself. Feeling of separation. At least in our Vedic scripture, there are umpteen number of places we get to see people crying, devotees crying. And they are nothing to do with this materialistic aspect. The feeling of separation. Third aspect which helps us to develop the feeling of separation is about when we do Shravanam. Because when you constantly hear about the Lord, you miss the Lord. And when you constantly miss the Lord, you think about the Lord. And so this is a very intricate thing where Shravanam creates union as well as feeling of separation simultaneously. Pain and pleasure mixed. Like a labor pain. We have spoken about this before. So this feeling of separation is extremely important. And fourth aspect which helps us to develop the feeling of separation is devotees association. I'm sure everyone who had been with some devotees, when you leave their company, you feel very sad. Because they are directly giving you the experience of the holy Dham. So this feeling of separation is needed in our devotional life. If you are not feeling separation, if you somewhere or other get complacent or contented with materialistic affairs, that's where the challenge happens. So to not to be carried away by the materialistic affairs, to stay afloat in spiritual consciousness, this feeling of separation from the Supreme Lord is needed. And Holy Dham offers that. Holy Dham compensates that. Holy Dham facilitates that. That is another reason why Holy Dham is an integral, important part of our Panchanga Bhakti. So with this note, I would like to stop here to say that Holy Dham means Krishna-centric life. If you see the civilization before, Dham or the temple or the place of worship used to be in the city center and the city was around the temple. That's how the architecture is. From God-centered life, we are moving away slowly from God-centered to God-fearing. Now from God-fearing to no God civilization. So to save us from this danger, somehow we should cling on to the Holy Dham, take blessings, inspirations, and develop desire to stay in the Dham, both in this body as well as eternally. By that way, we can end this cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. If there are any questions or comments, I'll be happy to respond. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Very, very beautiful class, Prabhu, as always, and very, very instructive. Just saying beautiful is not enough. It's very, very instructive, Prabhu. I have few questions. We will check if anybody else, otherwise I'll go ahead. Dear devotees, please go ahead and unmute yourself. If you have any question, realization, comment, please share with Prabhu. Thank you. Prabhu, I'll go ahead and maybe by that time they will get some time to.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Hare Krishna, Mataji. One second. I just want to go afterwards. You can. Sorry, Mataji, to interrupt.
Yes, yes.
So Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. What a beautiful class, Prabhu. As Mataji said, it's very, very nice, very instructive. So Prabhu, I really, feel that that these Vrindavans, Dhams that Srila Prabhupada has created in this America, like New Vrindavan, all these things are also having same potency of Vrindavan. Because my strong feeling, my personal experience, I never visited to Vrindavan. And I always pray that at least I can go to this New Vrindavan. 3 times I have booked the tickets, I've canceled the tickets. I mean, I can see the same potency, if a person is very sincere and they have love for devotion and dham, then they can easily go, even though they don't even plan, they just want to, like you say, your experience, you're going every once a month, you were going. And see, now I'm not able to go. Even this is New Vrindavan. It's not the real Vrindavan where in India. But then still I'm not able to go there also. So I feel the same potency when you are explaining that. Thank you, Prabhuji. So what should be the prayers? I still pray that I have to visit either this Vrindavan or in India Vrindavan, but I'm not able to go both the places. And you said that if you don't visit Dham, you will not realize the real devotion, or you're missing something actually in your life. So how do I get that which I'm missing? What should be my prayer? Or is my sadhana going somewhere wrong? Or how do I improve? I mean, how do I get that blessings to go Dham?
Very nice and important question. One of the ways that I could think, because I keep praying like that, as we discussed about the 5 types of dham, one of the dham is Vaishnava's heart. If somehow we are able to function in a manner by which Vaishnavas are pleased, our journey to Vrindavan is assured, or already we are in Vrindavan. Day before today, we were discussing, one devotee was mentioning about Radha Govind Maharaj's Vyasa Puja reflections, realizations. It seems that one couple or one girl and mother, or I may be completely wrong, but in terms of the referring to the person, but the details are what I heard. So they were very nicely, regularly serving. And when one day they went to offer their prayers or pranams to Maharaj immediately called them, and on the spot he gave, your name is so and so, and initiated them. Like that, they shared at least 4 or 5 episodes. So they were sharing the reflection where typically in an initiation process, we go through examinations, recommendations, procedures, wait listing, and several things. But if somehow, if we are very sincere in our prayers, I mean, if we are very sincere in our services, to an extent to get a place in Vaishnava's heart, then number 1, you are already getting the benefit of going to the Holy Dham. Number 2, that will enable you everything else. So, whatever we discussed is within 1 hour we could discuss. If you churn this further more, there are several more reflections could be drawn out of this, because at the end of the day, the success of Krishna consciousness is not to go and see the physical places. That's not what our intent. Even though physically visiting is also equally important. Vapu Seva is important. But it is also imperative to see how much are we pleasing our spiritual master and spiritual authorities. So our prayers should regularly be, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, Bhanu Maharaj told this to me. He said, before one goes to Vrindavan Dham, one should visit. Of course, there are several versions of this, don't quote me. I just heard it from Bhanu Sai Maharaj long time back. One should take the blessings of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yadi gaur na hoy to, tabe ki hoy to, kemone hari tam de, radha ra mahima, prema rasa sima, jagate janato ki. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's recommendation is, take the blessings of Gauranga to understand Radha Krishna. So what is needed for getting the blessings of Gauranga? Get the blessings of Guru. Get the blessings of Guru to get the blessings of Gauranga, to get the blessings of Radha and Krishna. How do we satisfy Guru? Satisfy Guru by two things. Sadhana and Seva. Do your sadhana nicely and Seva wonderfully, and Guru naturally turns towards you. Prabhupada writes, the success of our Krishna consciousness is to behave in a manner so that the spiritual master turns towards you and gives his glance. So our prayer should be that. Then the entire chain will be automatically fulfilled. More than you longing to go to see Krishna in Vrindavan Dham, please note, Radha Shyam Sundar is equally desiring to see you and your family in Vrindavan Dham. Just that he wants to intensify it so that the union is superb. That is how Krishna does it. He intensifies it, and leaves it there. Then it's up to us. How do you swing? Either way. Even if you don't get to see Vrindavan, you are in Vrindavan. If you go to Vrindavan, you are anywhere in Vrindavan. So there is no loss or diminution in this process. So our prayer should be from the roots, my sadhana and seva, to be done in a manner to please Guru and Gauranga, to eventually get Shishi Radha Shyam Sundar's blessings. Make sense?
Vinita Gandharvika Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhuji. I will definitely make sure that whatever I'm doing, it is pleasing to Guru and Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I have two questions. Of course, the first, the Dham itself has so much of dimensions to it, so many things to it. So, because we live in the Kalachan, Shri Radha Kalachanji community. So my questions are even more, so I mean, today's topic is so relevant. I am always in this confusion. Like often I hear in Srila Prabhupada's lecture, he says this temples are spiritual bubbles. The moment you are in the temple of any temple of ISKCON, you are in Vrindavan Dham. So one side is that we understand. And at the same time, Prabhupada also says, to charge yourself, you have to come to the real Dham. The moment we say the real Dham, real Vrindavan, real Navadvip, somewhere we are reducing the importance of the Dham that we are living. So that reduces the conviction that this is also Vrindavan. That is one of my struggle. Second struggle that I feel is, we don't know any pastime of Radha Kalachan. I mean, of course, around us there are so many devotees, and especially the senior disciples of His Grace His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and they all share their time to time their past, and they say they have reciprocated with the Sri Radha Kalachanji. But then to read somewhere, like how we read about Navadvip in CC, we read about Vrindavan and Srimad Bhagavatam, and we know about the Mahima of Vrindavan and Navadvip. But then we don't know anything of such in this city of wild city of Delos in Kalachanji Dham. We don't know anything. So looking at the temple, all I can think of is, oh, Srila Prabhupada had stepped here, also wonderful Maharajas have come here. But Krishna's pastime, that is something that I struggle with. So with that, I have more to it, Prabhu. So far, whatever I have spoken, can you please enlighten me?
I'll respond this in 3 parts. Part number 1, in spiritual context, everything is absolute. For example, we study Madhurya Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa. How many times you would have heard Madhurya Rasa is highest? But does that mean Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, are they any less? They are not. Generally, to glorify a context, they are glorified. At the same time, they have their own absolute position. Krishna is explaining this to Narada Muni in the fag end of the first part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Every person, whomever Narada Muni met, every person could very conveniently justify, establish how they are not the recipient, how somebody else is the recipient of Lord's mercy. And if you read them, sometimes you may get confused. Oh my God, they're making sense and they are not making sense. When Hanuman said, when I was first time reading, when Hanuman was saying that I am not the recipient of the Lord, so I was just wondering what logic he will give to prove him he is not the recipient of the Lord. And he gave several logics which we never would have contemplated. So what happens is that the same thing happened in the case of Ramananda Roy's conversation with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the time of Varnashrama Dharma all the way till Krishna Prem. Every time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept on refuting. Does that mean those statements that Ramananda Roy made, they're all wrong? They were all absolute and they are bound by a specific perimeter. So this is for this level, this level, this level, this level, this level. But each of them are absolute in their own nature. So from that perspective, in Krishna consciousness, we are always dealing with variegatedness, but the core is absolute. Whether it is Radha Kalachandji's Dham, whether it is, Vrindavan Dham, the effect of Krishna consciousness is absolute. So when Srila Prabhupada uses the word real, Vrindavan Dham, English is a very limited language. He had to explain. It is like example, giving Krishna is lotus face, Padmanabha, Padmanayana, Padmanetra. Are we saying Krishna's eyes are as much beautiful as lotus only? They are not. This is the only possibility of explaining his beauty, beyond which you can't understand, I can't understand. If somebody says Krishna is so beautiful, what is so beautiful according to our definition? My definition is koi kala pila hoga. Aapka definition kuch aur hoge. But Krishna's beauty, with everybody, understanding, so he has to give some platform. So Shastra took a common reference. That is purely to help us develop some affinity. As we go closer, Krishna is, Nittai Padakamala Koti Chandra Sushitala. We don't even know what is Koti Chandra Sushitala means. Chandra Sushitala bhi hum samajhne, halat ho jata hai. So Koti Chandra Sushitala. So which means they are just a statement, not an exaggeration, but quantifying, because Hamara Buddhi sometimes understands only when it is quantified. So, quantified information also. So from that perspective, when Prabhupada uses the word as it is, the word Bhagavad Gita as it is, it itself is a oxymoron. How come Bhagavad Gita could be named as it is? Because Bhagavan ki Geet has to be as it is, otherwise it is not Bhagavan. But unfortunately, so many people in this Kali Yuga has really created such a mess. So this is a time, place, circumstances related statement. But actually speaking, they are all absolute. Whether it is Radha Kalachandji, Radha Neela Madhava, Radha Gopinath, Radha Shyam Sundar, Radha Madhav, they are all absolute in nature and the potency is same. This is number one. Number two, with respect to the performance of pastimes, the pastimes of the Lord, which we generally see, elsewhere, what you are seeing, actually you are part of the pastime, you are not witnessing a pastime. Please remember that. Srila Prabhupada's mercy is such that he made us part of the pastimes. What is part of the pastimes? Now, after Bhaktivinoda Thakura, 100 years later, we are sitting and studying where all Bhaktivinoda Thakur traveled, what all projects he did, how all he established his preaching mission. Probably 100 years later, somebody will read that Anuradha Mataji and devotees of Radha Kalachandji Dham, they performed so many services in Dallas, and so many devotees took up Krishna consciousness. There were so many Rath Yatras, so many devotees got converted. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness mission, where the Lord is putting us through his Leela. So we are both projects as well as we are preachers. We are simultaneously getting purified, and we are also in the process of purifying others. So in terms of the Leela, that's what Prabhupada has told, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela is still going on. Come and be part of it and get the benefit. So for sure, as we say, absolute nature is still existing. We might need to also understand there are gradations in Krishna consciousness journey. So for us to even relish, remember, I'll tell you, one devotee in Radha Shyamasundar temple in Vrindavan Dham, he recently, 10 years before he passed, 10, 11 years before he passed away, he never stepped out of Radha Shyamasundar temple in Vrindavan Dham. Because Prabhupada told the entire Vrindavan is within Krishna Balaram temple complex. That's all Prabhupada has said. That Dadu has never left, never stepped out of Krishna Balaram temple. Because Prabhupada has mentioned Radha Kund, Shyama Kund, Giriraj, everybody is present within this complex. Which means that is a conviction on the words of an Acharya. He said that my Gurudev has given me this service and I will stay put to this service and Krishna will reveal himself to me. That is a goal and that goal will be accomplished. So you are not able to correlate a Krishna Lila or the Krishna Lila in Radha Kalachandji's Dham as Tamal Krishna Maharaj, as any other Maharaj could see, need not be the consideration because you are already part of the Leela. You need not witness one, or probably you are witnessing one as you are part. And number two is that this being an opportunity for you to emulate, reflect. That is why Prabhupada created this Gupta Vrindavan concept. So from that perspective, by being part of the services, you will eventually get some revelations from Radha Kalachandji. Probably tomorrow, day after tomorrow, he will come in your dream saying that, hey, Anuradha, what do you think? Here you are in my house, I'm looking after you. So you are here only because of my blessings. So probably, they will remind you saying that, and we will take care of you. So you'll feel that connect. I'm sure several devotees have developed that connect. Several devotees have established their personal bonding. I know few devotees, so many challenges they had received, but they would never leave because they have developed the bonding with personal deities. This is the third stage of devotion according to Jiva Goswami. Smaranam, Dharanam, Dhyanam, Dhruvanusmriti, Samadhi. The third stage of dhyana means a person who gets attached to a form, to a leela, to a pastime, to a place of the Lord. So much so that his life and soul is around him. Kurma Brahmana was attached to Kurma avatar. Somebody was attached to some specific Nrsinga avatar. Similarly, who knows, Radha Kalachandji will do some, wonderful leela for you. And the last part is, we are a missionary, part of a missionary. So as a missionary, like an army soldier is open to get relocated to any army base based on the need. Today, there is a need for us to go and camp in Chinese border. Tomorrow, there is a need and go and camp in Afghanistan border. Day after tomorrow, go and, reside in New Delhi capital. So because we have accepted, vowed, saying that I am your servant. So wherever the camp, army camp, our commander-in-chief is sending us, we should be open to. And that is the orientation. Our orientation is not that because our livelihood is centered around Dallas, I'm around it. That's the secondary aspect of it. That is actually a subset. The superset is that we are the army soldiers. We are the soldiers. So soldiers doesn't have a permanent, residing place. Sometimes you may have to go and create a new camp. Prabhupada had actually sent Brahmananda Prabhu. One day he called Brahmananda Prabhu and said, you should go to Africa and Pakistan to preach. The two completely complicated places in those days, scenario. Even now they are not a so well sought place, especially some parts of Africa are still, of course, some of our devotees are working very hard. They have transformed so many lives there. But initial, when he did, that's why Prabhupada says, even Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, anyone who goes out and preaches in Muslim countries and establishes Krishna consciousness there, they are very privileged and special people. Because the lifestyle, conditioning, everything is very special. So the choice is, you stay closer to Dham, in Dham with Prabhupada, or you go away from Prabhupada for Prabhupada. So the second classification, you'll have a special hug. As they always say, every festivals, there are devotees who happen to witness the festival. But there are few devotees who are happening to do services behind the scene. Those who are behind the scene, they get more mercy. I'm not sure if you have witnessed or not. Every time I have witnessed this, Jayapataka Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj, whenever they come to a festival, they go to the kitchen area after the lecture are over. And they spend some time and give their special blessings. Probably you will be, fighting in the queue to take darshan in the lecture, to take darshan of the Gurudev. But those who are in the kitchen would have not got opportunity to come any program. But Gurudev would have gone to them personally and given their darshan and prasadam and mahaprasadam. So those who are going to take darshan of Prabhupada and Krishna are special. Those who are working for Prabhupada, away from Prabhupada, is all the more special. So sometimes as soldiers, that is why I remember the words of Pankajangiri Prabhu where he said, if at all you are in a city, your duty should be to remember that you are a soldier to win more and more souls to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Making sense, Mataji?
More than sense, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have a few questions. Do you have time, Prabhu? I don't know.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as you said, thank you so much. May your words come true. They said Vaishnava's words don't go for fail. So I take it as your blessings, Prabhu. And so one more thing that has happened, it's been almost 2 years for us. We did not come here for any livelihood. It was my son's desire to go to the Gurukula and I left everything and came here. So the financial thing is not the reason for us to be here. But ever since we came here, I always had a big desire to go to Vrindavan. I've never been to Vrindavan. I mean, I almost went, but we couldn't visit. And but after coming here and serving Radha Kalachandji in person, I feel the desire to go to Vrindavan, the desire to be in Vrindavan and serve in the Krishna Balaram temple has reduced to a great extent. Like the yearning to go to a dham has reduced after coming to here. Is it an offense or it is something else, Prabhu? So
maybe you're articulating it differently. Probably it may not have reduced. You may not feel the same necessary longing because you are equally getting the same need. I do not want to read your mind here, but to say that desire to not to visit Vrindavan Dham is reduced is not the right statement or should not be said, because we are always supposed to take advantage of the opportunities to go to Vrindavan Dham. But to say that I am feeling the same conviction, same I remember Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangiri Prabhu since 1971, for 51 plus years, they have been based out of Mayapur Dham. This Aindra Prabhu never left Vrindavan Dham. He always stayed in Vrindavan Dham. So we always have some affection, affinity towards. The goal is, that is why the 5 types of Dham was the base of this today's class. All the 5 types of dham are equally glorious, equally potent. Any one dham you take shelter of, you have the same effect. So to say that I don't have desire, don't have longing, don't like or don't have the intensity to see the Vrindavan dham need not be said or need not be, thought about. Rather, we can say that by the mercy of Radha Kalachandji, Radha Shyam Sundar, we are able to experience, or we need to get the experience of realizing Krishna's blessings in our karma bhumi, in our place of service. Karma bhumi doesn't mean that a place of materialistic existence, place of service. Because a servant, wherever he is serving, he is under the shelter. Army men, even if he is not in the army base, if he is on duty not in an army attire, if he is on duty, he is looked after by the government. Looked after, his place of stay, food, medical claim, everything is looked after. But he has to go through an ordeal. And that is the choice, that is the surrender that we have given to Srila Prabhupada. We have chosen this path to please our Guru, to please the mission, if we have that propensity. There are many, many mindsets people are, with. So to have the mindset that intensity of visiting Vrindavan Dham is reduced or not reduced need not be articulated, because the moment you go and see Vrindavan Dham, you will naturally, at that instant, you will feel a connect. You will feel at home because you are already in Vrindavan by the virtue of you serving Radha Kalachandji. If you are doing a genuine service, if a service to the Radha Kalachandji is without any materialistic motives, for sure, the day you enter, Vrindavan Dham or Mayapur Dham, you will not feel like you are in a foreign land. You feel at home, or you will get inspiration to come back to Radha Kalachandji and serve you. Please understand, after a point in time, the deities are also attached to you. It is like the deities also wants to, reciprocate. Sometimes they say, there are several pastimes. If you go to, Mayapur, Rajapur Jagannath Temple or Mayapur Radha Madhava, if you go to every pujari, they will tell you some pastimes. And those pastimes are not fake. Those pastimes are real. They can only be experienced. They cannot be proved. So what happens is that the deities also develop attachments. Deities also wants, sometimes the Lord does not want to wear a specific dress, does not want to eat a specific food, sometimes want to throw some tantrums, which is only understandable. If you go and tell anybody else, they will think you are a pagal, kuch to bol rahe hain. But only we can experience ki, yes, today Krishna wanted to look different. Krishna wouldn't accept this dress. Krishna wouldn't accept this eyelashes. Krishna wouldn't accept this, which means the Lord is becoming is already considering us as him. Very personal. Krishna consciousness is a personal agenda. It has nothing to do with any superficial things. So from that perspective, you need not feel foreign. At the same time, whenever you reach the Dham, because you have been in the service of the Lord will make you feel at home. Probably he will make you, even though you are going to visit some place for the first time, you will get to see them as if you have known that place, for a while. That is the understanding of Krishna consciousness here. Makes sense?
Sorry for using that term or saying it. No, yes, exactly, Prabhuji. That's what I meant, what you said, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I always want to go to Vrindavan, Prabhu. If not live, at least die there. But the last thing that, Prabhu, I wanted to say, that you mentioned at the end of your class about the preaching part. So this always confused me, because being in a conditioned body, we can do only so much. It can be like, cooking service or this service, that service. We cannot do everything, like how Prabhupada's disciple were all the time going on a book distribution every day, 8 hours. I'm not in a position, I would not be saying I'm not doing that. And sometimes when I hear about it, I feel guilty, but at the same time, there are other responsibilities. So I just want to know, Prabhu, what are the aspects of preaching and what can we exactly call as preaching? Is only book distribution is a preaching, or, serving Srimad Bhagavatam, CC, or arranging things like that? What is the different aspects of preaching, Prabhu?
Srila Prabhupada called Jananivas Prabhu once and told Jananivas Prabhu personally told this. He said, you please look after Madhava nicely. You will never ever have financial trouble. in Mayapur Dham. So, Janavas Prabhu told, our only instruction that we receive from Prabhupada is, we have to take care of Madhava, who is the master of goddess of fortune. So we will never have any shortfall of any difficulties. So having said this, that day, Janavas Prabhu was sharing this on the day of the flag hoisting, that is the new TOVP temple. He said, in fact, DT department of Mayapur, they gave 1 crore rupees for TOVP temple construction. All they do is, they take care of Radha Madhava nicely, dress them up nicely, feed them nicely, perform the festivities nicely. The message here is, that is a fantastic preaching. If you ask anyone who have been to Mayapur, one of the important main reason they visit Mayapur is to take darshan of Shri Radha Madhava Ashtasakhi Shriman Mahaprabhu. Just the darshan of them, they're just to stand in front of the people go there. At least I go there for that. You just go for that. Nothing else. You just stand there whole day. Your day, you have your visit fulfilled. The point I'm trying to say is that Srila Prabhupada's message of preaching is not just sitting in a Vyasasana and give a class. Every component of your service towards the missionary program, whether it is cooking, whether it's DT worship, whether it is food for life, life membership program, book distribution, congregation development, Rath Yatra, outreach preaching, bridge preaching, college preaching, scientific preaching, writing, children's preaching, even problem solving, administration, politics, legal, finances, every aspect that you have done for the missionary purpose, not for your personal agenda, is preaching. Because if it is not done, you are already contributing towards, like for example, somebody, an army officer sitting and doing accounts and salaries for the army personnel. Will you call him an army man or not? I will call him an army man because he is working for an army man. If he doesn't work his accounts, probably the army man who is there in the field may not get his salary on time, may not get his benefits on time. So because we are integrated, we are a family. So from that perspective, for sure, at a different point in time, different services are glorified. Sometimes book distribution is glorified. Sometimes DT worships are glorified. Sometimes preaching is glorified. But for us, we need to understand each of them is absolute again. Book distribution is absolute in nature, so do the Food for Life, so do all the other services. And depends upon one's orientation, one can perform that service. We need not imitate, should not imitate, and rather respect every services and work cooperatively. In that way, we are doing preaching. Preaching, according to my understanding, is working for Krishna. That is why I used to always say, you hear from Krishna, you hear about Krishna, you hear for Krishna. Hear from Krishna, Bhagavad Gita. Hear about Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam. Hear for Krishna, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Because in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you hear about the rules and regulation, how I can serve Krishna. Code of conduct, how I can serve Krishna. Different angas of devotional service. It is, of course, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has also got other components. But the significant portion of part 1 and part 2 of Nectar of Devotion is about, you talk about the rules and regulations of how to serve Krishna. So, all the three are important. Hear from him, Bhagavad Gita. Hear about him, Srimad Bhagavatam. Hear for him. So that I know how to keep myself clean, how to keep the service nicely. So, several details. And that's how the whole preaching mission happens. So, you can work for Krishna, with Krishna, and both ways you are, going to be called as a preacher or a missionary. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, perfect. Thank you so much. Very satisfying answer. Sorry it took so much of your time, but
No,
very
it's
much
pleasure
needed,
always.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Yeah, dear devotee, if anybody has anything last moment to add on, please go ahead. Otherwise, we will pause for the day by Prabhu's permission.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your deep devotional associations, especially Shidam Vrindavan Dham. Prabhuji, if you are not tired, can you please sing one stanza of any bhajan Hari Bol Dandvat.
I've already started pulling out a song sheet, so don't worry. I know this is coming your way. So I'll sing a song. Unless there are any questions, just while I'm searching for a song. Okay, so I'll sing this song called Dhana Mora Nityananda. Dhana Mora Nityananda, Pati Mora Gaura Chandra, Dhana Mora Nityananda, Pati Mora Gaura Chandra, Prana Mora Jugala Kishora, Prana Mora Jugala Kishora, Advaita Acharya Bala, Gadadhara Mora Kula, Advaita Acharya Bala, Gadadhara Mora Kula, Narahari Vilasai Mora, Narahari Vilasai Mora, Vaishnavera Padaduli, Tahe Mora Snana Keli, Vaishnavera Padaduli, Tahe Mora Snana Keli, Tarpan Mora Vaishnavera Nama, Tarpan Mora Vaishnavera Nama, Vichara Koriya Mone, Bhakti Rasa Swadhane, Vichara Koriya Mone, Bhakti Rasa Swadhane, Madhyastha Shri Bhagavat Purana, Madhyastha Shri Bhagavat Purana, Vaishnavera Uchishta, Tahe Mora Mananishta, Vaishnavera Uchishta, Tahe Mora Mananishta, Vaishnavera Namete Ullasa, Vaishnavera Namete Ullasa, Vrindavane Chabutara, Tahe Mora Managera, Vrindavane Chabutara, Tahe Mora Managera, Kohe Dina Narotamadasa, Kohe Dina Narotamadasa, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Tai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. I'll read the meaning. Lord Nityananda is my wealth. Lord Gaurachandra is my master. The youthful divine couple is my life. Advaita Acharya is my strength. Gadadhara is my family. Narahari Sarkara is my glory. The dust of the devotees' lotus feet is my bathing water. The chanting of the devotees' names is my satisfaction. Considering the merits of all Vedic literatures in the light of devotional service, I have concluded that the Srimad Bhagavatam is best of all scriptures. My mind is firmly convinced of the spiritual benefit obtained by eating the remnants of foodstuffs left by the devotees. The names of the devotees are my happiness. The land of Vrindavana is the enclosure within which I keep my mind. Poor-hearted Narottam Das speaks in this way. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Brinda Gopika Mataji, for the wonderful request. Because of you, we got to hear the nectar. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very, very grateful. Such a beautiful, beautiful song, and beautifully you sang it, Prabhu. Thank you. So, Prabhu, with your permission and all the Vaishnavas' permission, can we pause for today? Can we pause for today, Prabhu?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. We'll pay our obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, चैतन्य भागवत की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी की जय, वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय, हिज ग्रेस रामगिरधारी प्रभु की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful association. We look forward in the future for more association. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's class. We'll meet tomorrow.